he's at, I don't know, but just want to make sure he came. I'm sorry? He should be able to speak. I talked to him. Okay. I'll text him quick. Yeah, if he just wants to say yes or
Maybe now. Joe, you there? Continue.
yeah.
All right, we'll move on to public participation. Yeah. Somebody speaking. So I'll read this. Members of the public and staff may bring to the committee's attention information, ideas, or matters of concern related to all the duties and responsibilities of this committee. This committee will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. The time for individual remarks will be apportioned according to the number of speakers and will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker unless extended by the chair. And state your name and address for the record, please. You got to push the button.
Turned it off. Okay. Did you say address also? Yes. Wherever that's coming from. Sorry, Alicia Armstrong, 92 Mike Glenn Drive in Torrington. Okay. Good evening, members of the Facilities and Technology Committee. My name is Alicia Armstrong, and I'm here on behalf of the Torrington Warriors Football and Cheer Organization. This is my daughter, London Armstrong, who is a cheerleader and a football player for the Warriors, as well as a kindergartner at Torringford School. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight because quite frankly, our organization finds itself in a very difficult position. Since March, we have been participating in discussions and advocacy regarding facility use policies, potential fee changes, and the Warriors' potential status as a district-partnered organization according to the proposed facility use policy that is pending for discussion tonight. While those discussions have moved between the policy and the facilities committees, our season continues to get closer and we remain in limbo. At this point, we are less than 6 weeks away from the start of our fall season, which is July 20th. Yet we still do not have confirmation regarding several critical facility requests, including gym space for our cheer program and field space for league-wide events. Throughout this process, we have tried to be understanding and collaborative. We recognize the financial challenges facing the district and have repeatedly expressed our willingness to participate in discussions regarding reasonable solutions. However, what has become increasingly difficult is the uncertainty and mixed messages on how we can move forward with support from TPS. For example, in March, we submitted a request to use the Torrington High School field for Sunday, August 16th for our Jamboree, which is a league-wide event that would bring multiple youth football organizations from surrounding towns to Torrington, about 500 people in total. At the time, we were told the field was available and that approval from THS was pending. Today, nearly 3 months later, we received an email and were informed that the request could not be approved because fall sports schedules have not yet been finalized. Had we been informed that in March that approval would be contingent on fall sports schedules, we would have planned differently. Instead, we proceeded with organizing an event around the understanding that the field was available just pending approval. We understand there are many costs associated with a weekend event, and we're prepared to discuss how we can support those costs. What we are struggling to understand is why an event before the school year begins cannot receive a determination after months of waiting. Similarly, our cheer program still does not have complete confirmation that we can use the Torrington Intermediate School gym for the upcoming season. Our athletes, coaches, and families need answers in order to prepare appropriately. The Warriors serve hundreds of children each year, the majority of whom are Torrington students. We have already made the decision not to raise registration costs this year because we don't want the uncertainty surrounding facility fees to be passed on to our families. We made that decision in good faith, hoping that a resolution would be reached before the season began. Today, we are 6 weeks away from the start of our practices, and we lack confirmation on basic logistics necessary to operate our program. Regardless of where the policy discussions ultimately land, we respectfully ask this committee, as well as in support from the policy committee, to help move this process forward. Our organization needs timely decisions, clear communication, and a realistic timeline so that we can effectively serve the children and families of Torrington. The uncertainty itself has become the biggest challenge, and we cannot continue to plan for a season for hundreds of children without knowing exactly where, when they will be able to practice and participate, and if it will be a cost. This is not just for the Warriors. All sports organizations are in limbo at this time, with the exception of PAL, as they were specifically written into the proposed policy. We really are hoping to gather some information as to how we can move forward. Can the Facilities Committee provide a timeline for when organizations such as the Warriors can expect final decisions on facility requests, fee determinations, and partner with us for the 2026 fall season? Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter.
Thank you. Anyone else? Josh, anyone online? Okay, we'll move on to discussion, next steps, and technology. Rachel?
Hello. So in the social media update for this month, I did a year-long recap on all of our Facebook pages. So on each slide, you can see a screenshot from September until current about our views, our follows, visits, link clicks, things of that sort. If you scroll through, almost every single school is up. Some of them, 120%, 160%. So all really, really good data this year. Social media is continuing to grow, and we're continuing to gain followers and views. Are there any questions?
No.
Okay.
Thanks.
Tech update?
Yeah.
So I believe last time I was asked to speak about the damages, the protection plan, and things of that sort. I wanted to get the most accurate data I could before this meeting. So at this time, there were about 234 damages, and that's total for the entire district. Last year, we had about 470, so we have gone down quite significantly, which is very, very good. The amount of damages covered by protection plans have also gone up, at least on the middle school side this year. Out of 131 damages recorded at the middle school, 48 of them ended up being covered by the protection plan. Whereas last year, the middle school had 256 damages, so quite a bit more, and only 27 of those were covered by the protection plan. Any students who needed to utilize the second occurrence, there were only 3 students, and the damages totaled to about $28,000. Which is still less than what it was last year. Last year it was about $31,000. Are there any questions?
Does that include I think one of the bigger problems we had last year and the years before were the charger losses? People who had lost their power adapters and things?
No, it's really screens. Screens are our biggest hurdle. It's, they have their notebooks and their pencils and they're rushing to clean up to get to their next class. They shut the screen and there's something in there, things of that sort. Most of them are entirely by accident. So that is our biggest damage. The chargers were actually far and few between this year. which
And
is excellent.
That's fantastic, and they're in that number, so that's,
Yeah, and I think what helped us a lot with that was getting the cases that have the pouch on the front, so that, charger goes right in that pouch, and they don't have to worry about, misplacing it. So I think that made a big difference this year.
made it easy, great.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I think that's it.
Okay. Other than that, the techs are working on device collection. So collection for the high school actually started yesterday. So any student who does not have an exam, like seniors, is welcome to turn in their device in the Library Media Center. And we've already gotten quite a few from seniors, which is excellent. So we're going to be continuing to do that. And I believe the TMS collection starts the 19th. Correct me if I'm wrong, Josh. I'm pretty sure it's the 19th. So we're going to be busy on that day as well. Any other questions?
That's great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, let's move on to facilities with Dean.
Okay, thank you. First on the list here is the project updates. Anybody have any questions on that?
I have a couple quick ones. On the first page, the Bobcat, which one is that? It says 50 Major Drive.
Oh, yeah, that's our new Bobcat tractor. We had to bring it in for service.
Oh, it just service, or is it?
No, just service, just service. So it's actually back.
Fantastic. The other one was Vogel Access Control.
Yeah, there's a couple of areas there we want to possibly, just open it up here, get an access control in the back of the, where the loading dock is. Right now it's still a keypad. So we want to see if we can get an access there.
Gotcha. And then I had smart boards in Southwest.
Yeah, that's been lingering. I think we're in good shape on that. I just got another request for a smart board today or yesterday if we had any left. So we're still going through the ones that we had from the old school, storing them, putting them up where we can, and that's where we stand on that.
Fantastic. And then outside shade at Torrington.
Yeah, there's a shade that, a structure that I believe the PTO purchased, and we have to pour some piers and hopefully this summer get that done.
And the last one I think I had was VMOP room repair at Vogel.
Yeah, we got to do some repairs in the mop room. We had one of the dispensers that were on the wall let go, so we had some water damage. So the sheetrock is down, drying out. I got to get there actually and cap some of the plumbing so we can re-sheetrock it and go from there. So.
And then the last one, sorry, is the Vogel variable frequency drive, the VFD.
Yep, just got to get there and clean it.
Oh, it's just a clean.
That's a cleaning, yep.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, the next thing on the agenda is, I didn't put it in order here, what is the next? Soundworks agreement? Nope, facilities use policy, sorry. Saw that in front of me. I did put it in order. So what you have in front of you is what we've been looking at. What the approach kind of is now is to have facilities take a look at the last 2 pages. I included everything that we've been working on, but the last 2 pages is something that I want to talk about. Went through the old policy, which is right before the last 2 pages. I should have numbered the pages. And you can see it's pretty limited on what our facility use locations are. They're all redded out right now on the 2 pages before that. The spreadsheet that I have is something that we put together, that is what we have at presently. All these different locations we have to possibly rent out and use. So I want everybody to take a look at this and, agree to these locations. The cost, I did a ton of homework. I used some of the numbers that we had originally, kind of extrapolated it, and I went to a couple of different districts to see what they're getting for some of the areas that we never had in our policy. So I know it's kind of confusing. Current, daily, per hour, 3-hour minimum, and then new per hour. So in our old one, it's not clear. And I thought this would make it clear. And the reason why I put a 3-hour minimum down here is because the custodians, by the time we have a pre and a post cleanup, just about for any event, it's a 3 hours. So just so whoever looks at these policies will know the full cost before going into it. And that's why there's a 3-hour minimum there. And then there's a broken down, so if you went 4.5 hours or 5 hours, you would do a 3-hour minimum plus whatever it is per hour. If that makes sense.
Would that be the soccer stadium appears to be an exception, it just says current daily and then per hour? 3-hour minimum, so you just use the daily rate for that then, if you go over 3 hours?
Where am I looking here? Oh, right up here.
Page 32, 50 Major Bessie Drive.
Yeah, 50 Major Bessie Drive and Sox. No, the new per hour would be the same thing. So I took $125 divided by, or $375 divided by 3, came on 125. That'll just be carried over. So if this sheet was cleaned up and done, it would just be new per hour. You wouldn't have all the other stuff in there with it. So it would be a minimum of 3 hours, $375. If it was 4 or 4.5 hours, it'd be plus $125 per hour. And when it says custodian, that's an additional cost. So this is just for people that we're going to charge to use our facilities as far as facility use, not custodial costs. Custodial costs next to it, and if you look on the last page, I give an explanation of what that is. Custodial fees Monday through Saturday is $46 per hour. On Sundays is $61 an hour. Now, the $46 per hour is time and a half, and then double for our Sunday fees. And you'll see there's other fees that we have in there also. Sound and light tech fees. Again, Monday through Saturday fees, Sunday fees, and then we also added this TPS specialist to be determined in there, just to leave it open because we don't know what that would look like. So if somebody wanted to come in and use our construction shop or our auto shop or the culinary, what does that look like? And that'll be up to us to kind of make sure that we have somebody in there that is of our approval to use it. Primarily one of our staff, when it says that. The other thing you'll notice I plugged in there too was for the cafeterias, we put in there, catering services available. So that would be something that would be, would use our catering service. If somebody wanted to come in and have an event here, we're not going to let somebody come in our kitchens and start cooking in the kitchens and using them. There's too many health and safety reasons to go by that. So it would have to be somebody that, primarily would be a TPS employee. Okay. Go ahead, Jeff. Anything else?
I've got a couple questions. So based on the new, and I'm only going to ask the policy piece, this is the policy thing they have to deal with, but yeah. I don't know how comfortable I would be charging Torrington agencies the, $20 an hour to use the parking lot if they already pay taxes here. So what's the thought? Like I get some of these things, I agree with you. They have consumables and there's wear and tear in some of these rooms, right? The auto shop, if they're using some materials, there's some wear and tear to it. I get it. But some of these things like a classroom, a parking lot, a common area, I'm not.
So I think that falls into policy. This is, assume this is not a Torrington resident, somebody looking to come in and use our facilities, that's not a Torrington resident, that's a for-profit. This is the baseline, and then we go from this, and then we can subtract or make, adjustments to other entities. Again, this is what I gave you now.
Yep.
Not sure where policy.
Understood, and I agree. The last question is the custodian, are they going to be charged? So if they have a 1 hour event, and usually then we've always said a half an hour before and a half an hour after.
It's
for
actually an
cleanup.
hour before and a half hour after, is what's in our policy right now. It's an hour before the setup, and then an hour after to clean up and close. So it's a 1 hour plus a half hour. So that's where I get where the 3 hour minimum comes in. So if somebody comes in for an hour, you're absolutely right. They got to pay 3 hours, right?
Well, they would pay 2.5 then, right?
Right, right. So we put that minimum down. Again, this is all me just putting stuff together, looking around, see how the place is doing it. You know, we can handle that any way we want to, I think. But
I just want to make sure we're covering the cost, but not over. I know that the custodian contract is 3 hour minimum on like 11 PM to 7 AM, and on Sundays, there's certain.
There's certain times.
Yeah, certain times where there's a 3 hour minimum, but I don't want to overcharge an agency.
Nope.
As a public entity.
Yeah.
You know, we need to cover our costs, as you've clearly spelled out.
Right.
So if it's an hour before and a half an hour after, then that's what it is. I just don't want to charge somebody for 3 hours if it's
we
not
don't have to.
costing us 3 hours.
Gotcha. Yep, yep.
Can you clarify what post-cleaning means?
I can't hear you.
Can you clarify what post-cleaning is? So an hour before is for them to clean and,
Hour before setting up, so if you have an event and they got to get chairs out, or we've got to, you know, clean up the area that they're going in, and then afterwards, again, cleaning up and heading out, locking the doors, doing a building check, you know, depending on where it is, what building it is. Again, that matters also, right? If you're in Southwest School, to do a building check is a 15-minute job. To do a building check here, you're spending 45 minutes, 50 minutes going, checking every door and making sure everything is, you know.
Do we need to have an additional custodian for all of these rentals? Some of them I understand there's a real need, right? If you're renting the gymnasium and you have 200 kids in there, you're going to make a mess. There's certainly some additional cost and prep time from a custodial standpoint, but some of these things, I mean, we really,
Such as?
renting a classroom and we're cleaning the classrooms at night for the most part anyways.
Well, if somebody came in, if somebody comes in, let's say 7 o'clock at night, and we would expect that classroom would be cleaned before they come in, if there was class going on there. And they come in and they have an event, and then after they're done, there's cleanup that has to happen. So, you know, you can
Yeah,
kind of
just asking.
pick through this thing very, you know, diligently and try to come up with the exact wording to fit every situation. But I think in our policy, it also gives a little bit of leverage to taking a look at the situation and maybe adjusting it.
And the specialist would be in addition to, so if you needed a sound person, obviously it would be in addition to.
It would be in
the
addition
custodian.
to, yeah, yep.
Yeah, that makes sense for a lot of these things, a very expensive equipment in the auditorium and special people to run it. I agree with a lot of this. So, thank you. I think that's, the rest of my questions will have to come at policy. This is, for facility, this is laid out, it's covered all the bases. And if it's for profit people, then having them all listed makes sense.
So I guess my question is to move forward, right? Is this something, the use fees, proposed facility use fees for 6/5/26, is this something that we can go forward with? Or do we stand pat on it? Again, this is not saying who was going to charge and who we're not going to charge. This is just a flat out, hey, these are the facilities that we have and these are the fees that we're charging.
I'm certainly good with it. My only question would be maybe we should note where somebody's subject to utility fees, because not all of these things are we likely to charge them a utility fee. If they're using the lights on the field, it's a significantly different utility fee than
Well,
somebody renting
there's a separate, we only have one of those, and there's a separate cost for that, for lights on the field, so that's $100. That's separate, above and beyond the normal fee. So if you look, I think underneath there, utility fees, current right now is $5. I bumped it up to $10. I just think if you know, if we're gonna do it, then I don't even think $10 is sufficient, to be honest with you, you know?
Yeah, if we need it, we need it. That's not a, It's not a hill to climb, so I'm with you.
Okay?
I agree. So motion to move this to the full board? Oh, to policy first? Yeah,
So moved.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dean.
Okay. Next thing we have is facilities, Soundworks agreement. So instead of giving you all of those contracts that we had, again, I put it on this overview of what they're exactly looking for, or what they're offering, I should say, warranty and service plan and annual inspections. If you look, the warranty start date on the top, that's when they completed, again, total installation costs on here, we already paid them. We already paid them for that. It was an emergency job. They did all of these schools. They got completed at different times. You can see those. That's what the warranty start date is on top. All right? The monthly monitoring we're already paying. So what I'm asking for is annual repair and inspection, if that's something that we want to go forward with on their contract. And down below is an overview, a little bit of what they're going to give us for the repair service plan and actual annual inspection. But I know that it came up as far as overlapping, and the 90-day warranty, they were going to extend to a year, which obviously we're pretty darn close to that already. Excuse me, but any of this would happen, would be effective after the October 9th, 23rd, and 14th of 2026.
So as it stands right now, currently it's out of warranty.
Yeah.
Have we had any significant problems with it?
We've had a few, and they've handled a few. It hasn't been many, and they've taken care of it. The last one, I don't know if it was within the 90 days or not, but if I look on the, I don't know. I think if I look on my project sheet, it might be on there. It might not be.
I'm probably not inclined to, the one-year warranty incentive is only helping us for the next few months, correct?
Say it again?
The one-year warranty option by signing an annual service and repair plan, that isn't, at this point, doesn't make a whole
No,
lot
it
of
was just
difference.
part of it. There's not a cost that is included with it, so, I guess if we go with both of these, it'll be included. But it's not broken out where he's gonna extend the warranty. That was part of it, of going with the annual service plan and inspections, that he would extend the warranty to 1 year.
I'm not certain that we're gonna see $6,000 in covered breakages in the next year myself, but I'm not an expert in this field. You haven't had a lot of exposure to damages, and the damages that would be covered, right? A vandalism or something where a student does it wouldn't be covered anyways, I'm sure, based on the document before. I probably wouldn't be in favor of the annual repair plan unless you thought it was a significant win for us, especially with the budget situation.
Well, again, it depends on what goes, right? A device is one thing. You can get into some of these that are very expensive. I don't have the exact cost of what an alarm, what the control board would be, or expansion modules, or power supplies. A device is one thing, something major is another. So, is it worth $5,000 a year? As a service plan, it's insurance. So, the annual inspection, learning that the old service that we had, we didn't go with any of these plans. And when we were doing this, we were trying to figure out, a list of devices, and went through all of that. And because we didn't do any of the service or any of the stuff on them, we had so many devices that were not working that we didn't know, because we didn't do a lot of this preventive maintenance, and we didn't do a lot of this. So that when we went to do this, you know, we looked at the Sonatrol, what was there, and some of these devices haven't been working, and they were broken already to start with. So, you know, it's brand new. You know, I don't know if, you know, 3 years from now, is he gonna offer this to us again, when we think it's time that stuff is gonna start breaking down?
I certainly get the point on the annual inspection. If you're not going to know, I mean, if the monitoring of the system isn't going to tell us if a sensor is bad, and I don't know that it will or won't, just the actual monitoring. If that won't tell us, then I guess a case could be made for annual inspection. I hear you, it's an insurance gamble, for certainly on the annual repair plan, but unless we really thought we were going to use it, I wouldn't think it's $6,000 that we necessarily have to spend at the moment. But I'm only one person.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, you spent $60,000 on this, and we're gonna pay $6,000 a year to insure it. Anyone else have an idea?
If I may, is the thought that the price could just jump significantly, just the unknown of what it could be when the time does come, Dean?
I missed the first part of that. Joe, say it again?
I guess the worry with doing this now versus waiting is just that we could end up paying a premium down the road.
Yeah, well, again, you know, one of these, you know, the expansion module or the alarm boards, I mean, you know, that could be, you know, I don't have the numbers in front of me.
I understand, yeah.
Does anybody have more experience where they know exactly what a module would cost or anything of that nature? If we did have to replace it? Is it a $5,000? Is it $7,000? I didn't break this down that much.
I don't have that experience to know, but I would guess that a single major repair probably wouldn't be $6,000, but that would be my guess. We could have some bad luck, of course. I mean, this is the game, like you said, it's insurance. You win some, you lose some,
You
right?
do, and we have a lot of service plans out there, and, you know, again, I think, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think of all of the mechanical systems and electrical systems and everything that we have, to me, it sounds like $6,000 is a lot, and I'm not saying it's not, but it does cover us. It does cover us for a majority of the stuff, but I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to figure out if, you know.
No one else with a comment? All right, so you want to vote on that?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Soundworks agreement with annual inspection, but not annual repair service plan.
Okay, I second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. All right, next on the list is, and you just received these today. The bids came in yesterday for both projects. So we worked today and yesterday to put these together. This is for the Vogel Playscape. It's a bid checklist that has got all of the details are on the bid into a checklist to make sure that, you know, the bid, we only had one bidder. We only had one bidder came in, so there's no comparison between two of them. It's just a checklist to make sure he met all of the specifications that were in the bid. Oh, did I not pass it out? Oh, sorry. Hang on, it's coming.
Any idea why we only had, any thought on why we only had one bidder, Mr. Burkola?
No. There's not a ton of people who do it, I guess, and, you know, we did have it out, we went public with it, so. We have used these guys before. The Torrington one, and Donna, any other one? Was it Torrington and Vogel? Not Vogel. Yeah, we have used them before.
If I may, I have utilized them as well, and they've always been excellent. They're responsive and quick, and, you know, they've always really helped us out in the past.
Okay, so I see the bid total is 176,000. Are we,
So if you look at that, if you look at the items, the bid total, yes, 176,000. The add-on tree removal and the add-on retaining work were just that. We have we have one large tree that has to come down, and the stump has to be grounded, along with another old stump that's next to it. So the retaining wall is nothing that we have to do. We did get a number for it in there. We have the retaining wall material left over from this project. So, you know, if you look at the funds down below, we pretty much said, all right, well, we have a certain amount from the funds through the grants. I have $3,500 left in my budget for landscaping for this year, and then that gets us to the total of $159,614. So that's what we're looking at there. As far as the retaining wall goes, well, as far as the tree goes, I got another price on the tree. So that's where the $3,500 came from. So I have a number to cover that. And as far as retaining wall goes, you know, I can look into that a little bit more to see if we can do that in a timely fashion with less cost and see if we can pull it off. I'm not quite sure we can do it ourselves, but I am looking into that next week. I want to go out there, seeing that we do have most of the material. And again, it doesn't need to be done, but it would definitely dress that area up over there. It's right on the Prospect Street, and it just, there's stuff growing there and bushes and stuff like that, and I think it would dress it up nice.
the seed and IDEA grants was $156,114.50, the complete amount of funding available?
Yes,
Did the bid actually come in at exactly the dollar amount we had available?
it appears so, but not with the add-ons, obviously.
And that was, okay. You, just seems, I mean, I get it, but to the penny. So you think we can do some of the retaining wall less expensively, Mr. Pergola?
Well, like I said, 13,000 was labor to do the wall. I have to look at it a little closer, Jeff. We really, again, I hate to say this all the time, but time was of the essence with this just because of the grant, and we have to do a lot of stuff before the end of, you know, by time frames. So I haven't had a chance to look at to see if we can even handle it. I know we have the material, the block itself. Now, there's other material we're gonna need also. So, you know,
What would our funding source be for the balance of this?
that's
It's kind
one
of
of
a
the major
cap-
things
is
we'd
it?
have to look at.
So the tree's covered, the tree's not 7,000, you got somebody to do it for 3,500. Okay, so the tree's covered, so it's the retaining wall that's the difference. Is that the wall that runs along Conti's?
No, well, no, it runs perpendicular to Conti. It's the
The
street.
wall between the school and Conti's
No,
office?
the wall between, that wall there is gonna stay, there's a fence there,
Okay.
and we're gonna have to do something with that fence that's included in here, just for playscape reasons. It's the one that's on Prospect Street, so if you walk down the steps, you walk over to St. Francis or St. Paul the Great,
Yeah,
that, right in front of this area where it's gonna go, not the whole front, but just in front of this area where that tree is,
along the sidewalk.
along the sidewalk.
Ah, okay. School wall or the city wall?
I believe that's our wall. I'm talking about the wall now, we're not touching the sidewalk.
Yeah?
We have bushes there, we have all that there.
So you go 1 inch out, it's the city sidewalk, 1 inch in is our wall. All right. So we gotta come up with 13 grand. What do we save on not doing the maintenance agreement? 6? So it's $2,000 difference. Why not just save that on the maintenance agreement, pretty up the place, do the wall. That's just my opinion, but that's up to you.
What are the permissible funding sources for this? Can it come out of, I mean, is this a GB allowable item, or is this a capital-only item? 'Cause
Yeah, I don't have an answer. It depends on where we are in GB, to be honest with you, but I mean, we could, you know, depending on the money we have left over for capital, I guess we can throw it into that also.
it kind of becomes a landscaping to some extent, right?
Kinda.
Well, there's only one bid, so.
I do want to clarify something that the grants, like all grants, are public information. So they are posted on the state website. So as far as the funding and the quote coming in exact, I just wanted to give that background
Oh,
information.
yeah, that's, sorry if I didn't make that clear. It was, you know how this works. If somebody knows how much, even in our budget every year, if they know how much is there, it always in
Absolutely.
your head makes you think that the numbers are going to come in pretty close to it. So that was my comment, not meant for anything else. So you need an approval to spend well, you're looking for the project itself and then try and find the money for the retaining wall in a different place.
Yeah. What you doing, my agenda?
Anyone else with questions? Are they doing the wall?
No, wall's not included.
You're doing the wall?
We're
Or
gonna,
we're-
he's gonna look at it. I
It's
believe.
not, you're not voting on the wall right now. You're just voting on everything besides the wall.
So,
And
I'm sorry, so it's under bid total, it says add-on tree removal, add-on retaining wall. I was assuming that was the guy that's doing the planescape. That was his add-ons, but that's not true?
no, that's not. Pull that out.
Yeah, I know that.
Sorry, I was making the same assumption. So
Yeah.
really, this bid is the 156, 114.50.
Yes.
And the rest of these things were not a part of the
Yeah.
actual bid package.
Yeah.
So we can sort those out. For purposes of getting them rolling, we can get the
Yeah.
156, 114 while you look into the wall and how we're going to do it. Then I'll make a motion to send this to the full board for approval for the base bid of 156, 114.50, and Mr. Pergola looking into the other items.
I second that.
And that's, so,
Second. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes.
Okay. All right, the next item, again, is the bid that we had come in for the Torn Ford chiller, the bids that we had come in for the Torn Ford chiller. There's a side-by-side proposal with a breakdown of a lot of the items that are in the bid. Give you a second to absorb it.
Mr. Pergola, how much of an energy savings do we predict based on that year, the EER, the efficiency profile?
So it's tough to predict. This EER value, if you look, I give a little bit of explanation on that on the last page. If you look for explanation of technical findings and efficiency analysis, because I figured somebody was going to ask that. So it talks about the baseline of what the old chiller put out and what the new chiller will put out as far as efficiency. Very, very difficult to land, to use those EER numbers because the new equipment runs on a variable frequency drive. So these fans are ramping up, ramping down, not full bore. Just imagine how much gas you would spend if you put your foot on the pedal going, on the highway as opposed to regulating it, or stop sign to stop sign if you floored it, same idea, right? So this variable frequency on these motors now wind up and wind down. They also do that, of course, basing it on the capacity. So there's two things that the particular chiller did not meet. One was that EER, but in the real world, you're going to save money because of that. The other part is on the sound. and it was 2 decibels off, which isn't huge, but that's the same idea. At full bore, you're going to be at the full decibels. Chances of that being at full bore would be the hottest day of the year, probably nobody in the building anyway, and this chiller's located in the area where you don't hear it. You hear it if you're outside. It's in a corner. Sound really isn't a big deal. It was in the specification of the original chiller, so we left it in there to give these guys a baseline to go by. The big number you got to look at on here is the actual BTUs, because that doesn't change regardless of, you know, you need to have the proper amount of BTUs. And out of the 4 bidders right here, the York chiller is the only one that is large enough to equal what we have there right now. So we went spec for spec, what we had, and we tried to meet it as close as we can. The carrier units that you see are about 22 tons short. So I know it says, you know, 250 tons to 228 tons. You know, to give you an idea, your house probably handles 2 tons of cooling, maybe 3 tons of cooling, depending on the size of your house, maybe 4. An average 2,000 square foot house is probably at, you know, 1.5 to 2 tons. So, you know, we don't want to short ourselves on the BTUs. That's the one thing we don't want to short ourselves on. And then you'll see also, the last page of the documents on some of the, you know, some of the deficiencies, along with not having the proper amount of BTUs, but some of the missing components in the bid package. So right now, Johnson Control, if you're looking at it, obviously is less money. It's $315,000. Their unit is 250 tons. Johnson Control is going to use a York chiller. Again, I explained the SEER and the DBA to you guys. They all fit the pad pretty close. The York is a little bit larger, but it fits. And JCI came in and their package was complete. Just a couple of informalities I put down there I wanted you to take a look at. In their bid package, it was kind of, like I say, which was cleaner, but it wasn't. So they acknowledged the addendum of number 1. They actually included the addendum in the sealed bid, but they did not initial one of the lines where it said addendum number 1 received initial it, but they included it in the bid where you know, it shows proof that they acknowledged it. The other part is on the bid form, there was a line for the cost, and then underneath it was a line to put the bid bond, which they didn't put anything in there. But if you look at all of their bid bond paperwork, it's for the total amount of $315,000. So it's covered in there, just, again, informality on their paperwork. And I also threw in there at the bottom, this comes out of our RFQ that, again, we just got redone by our lawyers. And there is, you know, there's language in there as far as these, you know, non-material deficiencies or irregularities in the bid. So.
What you're saying, though, is that the base bid they gave us included the bonds.
Oh, yeah.
In the price.
The bond was in there, the addendum was in there.
These other folks, the base bid amount also included the surety bond, or it's the base bid
Well, you
plus the
see where
surety
it has it
bond?
underneath there, it's the base bid, and then they put the bottom amount there, so you don't add the two, it was 328,000, and then their bid bond was 4,800 underneath.
Is that bid bonds or is it bid and performance bonds?
Bid and performance.
Control submitted a bid bond. Is the cost of their performance bonds included in their cost?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the alternates? I mean, under alternates, one says 5-year warranty and the other one is adding a carrier chiller
Yeah,
versus-
so.
Well, how many alternates were there?
This is, there wasn't, they added, these are their add alternates. This was not included in our bid. West State put that in there because they can get the Carrier chiller less money. So he wanted to show that if you wanted to go with the Carrier that doesn't have enough BTUs, the bid on this would be $333,000. Okay? So I didn't ask for that, he put that in there. And I didn't ask for the alternate as far as the 5-year warranty either. I'd like to explore that a little bit more, but I didn't want to reach out to these guys until we talked, to see exactly what this 5-year warranty and maintenance fee is, what it includes.
So, and another question, so I remember the first one that went out, is this all-inclusive? This is rigging, plumbing,
This is,
electrical?
the only thing that this does not include is our BMS contractor.
Okay,
That's the only thing that this doesn't
they
include.
got to interface this into our current
They got to
BMS
interface it, they have to do some, a little bit of wiring, they have to work with these guys on the back net to make sure it talks and make sure it works through. One of the specifications, it's got to be back net ready for our BMS people to take it over. So the only thing that's not included here right now is that. Now, listen, once you rip this thing apart, I'm just going to say, we want 30% glycol in there. We're hoping that the rest of the system has it in there. I mean, we may have to be plugging certain things in there.
Understood. But I just want to make sure that these numbers up here are, rigging, electrical, tin work, plumbing.
You got it.
Disposal,
Just getting rid of it,
everything.
whole
This is turnkey.
turnkey.
Turnkey with payment and performance bond.
And that is the language that's in the RFQ is turnkey.
What was the bid spec for warranty? What was the base warranty?
I don't remember. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have it in front of me. It was, I don't have it.
Okay, and then to Mr. Berger's point, the 5-year warranty and 5-year maintenance, those are, were we doing maintenance on the existing one? And how does that compare?
So,
Is that, actually, before you answer that, and is that like warranties 20,000 per year? Or is that 20,000 for a 5-year warranty?
for a 5-year warranty. 5-year warranty,
And then the maintenance is in addition to that 20?
Yeah.
And is that
yep. Yeah,
also for 5 years, or is that per year?
It's 5 years for those costs right there.
I'm gonna guess you have to do the maintenance to get the warranty.
Those are the questions I wanted to ask, and I wanted to know exactly on the warranty, because again, on this piece of equipment, the control board on here, could be a $6,000 bill. And they've known to go. So I would like to get, if you guys approve of these, my next step would be, number one, to get it going, because we need to. Number two is to get more information on these warranties to see what you want to do on that.
And is West State, I mean, if, from what you're explaining, it's best to go with the York chiller. So West State and Johnson Controls are the two. Johnson Controls all in is, what, 350, 360 with their 5-year warranty and maintenance. Is West State Mechanical including any warranty and maintenance in their number?
No. Again, I didn't ask for it. They didn't offer it.
I'll make a motion to send the Johnson Control bid forward to the full board and Mr. Pergola to look into the details of the warranty and maintenance contract.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay. Oh, that's it.
That's it. Thanks, Dean. Topics for future meetings. Well, I guess.
Can I interrupt for- I hate to do this. Do we have an update on the roof, or do I have to amend the agenda to ask that question?
You gotta amend it.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to include a number B6 Torrington Intermediate School roof? Oh, I did, I asked if I have to.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay, I retract that statement. Mr. Pergola, do we have an update on the roof at TIS?
No, but we should, hopefully they're going to let us know by next week.
Thank you very much. Sorry to make that more complicated than it needed to be.
My arm on this here.
Comments for good of the order? John? Glenn?
All right, we got some stuff to do.
Glenn?
Thanks, guys, for all the work. Appreciate it, and look forward to getting some projects done over the summer.
Dean?
Good meet?
Great meeting.
Good meeting, thanks.
Yeah, good meeting, thank you. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
6:27, thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Budget Committee meeting of Wednesday, June 10th, 2026 of the Torrington Public Schools Board of Education at 6:32 PM. Roll call. Myself, Mr. Cronin, Mr. Kolesha, are you on Zoom?
Yep, just gonna get the mute button off.
Great. Ms. Saleo is excused. We have Mr. Kisco's here, Mr. Gavin's here. Oh, great. You were in the second. Perfect.
It's the reliever.
Welcome. And we've got everybody else down here. Actually, everybody's here tonight. And Dr. Baker will be joining us shortly. Great. All right, looking for an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. All those
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, I'm sorry, I need to make a motion to amend the agenda, my apology. We'd like to add to number 6, in between monthly financials and discussion on the possible future offerings, facility use forms, please. So that would make it 4 items under that. Can I get it? And I also want to switch B and C. We'll make the discussion of future program offerings down to what would now be D. So A would be financials, B would be facility use, C would be 26, 27 budget discussions, and D would be discussion on possible future use.
So moved.
Looking for a second? I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Approval of the minutes. Looking for a motion on the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Public participation. Anybody in the crowd who would like to address the Budget Committee tonight? Anybody online? Hearing none, we will move on to discussion next steps. Monthly financials.
Great, so good evening, everybody. You received in your packet the monthly financials up to May 31st, 2026. And I will just review a few items that kind of stuck out. Before I do that, I wanted to answer some questions from last month's meeting. There was a question from Ms. Saleo about the care closet, and I wanted to just let her know that it is alive and well, and the school counselors are overseeing it in the high school, so just wanted to give that information. There was another question about the rebate for some of the Apple devices. It was the second rebate from Apple's purchased way long ago with COVID funding, and we did receive $39,000, or are going to be receiving $39,000 for those. I did talk to the IT director, so that money will be forthcoming. And then as far as the packet goes, if you want to just go to page 9 of the budget. There was a line item for the school resource officers. I know that was asked by Mr. Putnam at a previous meeting, and we just received the invoice, so that will be zeroed out. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. I wanted to also let you know that line 5430.1, as we all know, snow plowing was over, and the copier services as well, 5440.02 was over as well. And the reason why I'm just pointing that out is if you go to the first page of the budget, the roll-up on page 5, all of our line items are in good shape. There is one line item, 5400, that's over, and I just wanted to let you know what was contributing to that overage there. And then the last thing I wanted to point out, again, I know electricity is on everybody's radar. On page 11, 5622 is over, but I did want to let everyone know that we are going to be getting some funding from the CAF because we are able to bill them for use and occupancy. So that line will be a little less over next time you see this. And is there any questions concerning the budget?
Anybody on the committee have any questions, or anybody, representatives have any questions about the budget? I've got a couple. We'll get started on. If anybody else has something, feel free to jump in. Starting on page 7, the 5111.40 media specialist. On most of these things I get, there were a lot of people, the teachers and things back and forth. That's always a moving target. Are we short a person in media specialist this year? Do we have an open vacancy that
Yeah, sure.
No, we don't have a vacancy. I would have to look into it for certain, but my guess would be that we budgeted for a certain number and then we hired somebody at a lower amount.
got it? Quick, thank you.
Thank you.
Stipend, arts, drama, music, 5111, 57. I know we pay this in chunks. Did we,
Yes, there's probably still payments due through the end of June, so that will likely reduce. There was also, if you recall, when we did the budget in February, we had changed how those were budgeted. So some of the stipends were budgeted in one line, but should have been budgeted in another line. So there's, probably an offset in another line, and we corrected that in the new budget.
perfect, thank you. And then 511205, non-certified support staff. We had a budget amendment to this line initially, but it's significantly lower than our budgeted item.
Yeah, that one, I believe, was probably meant to be in the grant, but I'll double check that and get back to you.
Okay. And then, I think I know the answer to this one, but the longevity payments in 511290, those occur in June, correct?
Correct? Sorry.
So we talked about this during the budget season 2, that that particular line item had not been looked at budgetarily for a little while, and so the longevity language that's in the contracts has been negotiated out and, should be perpetually getting lower, and the budget was not lowered over the last few years. It was just stayed the same. So there will be some longevity payments that still go out between now and June, but largely they went out in December. So I do think we're going to end up being under in that line item.
Great, thank you for the reminder. I do remember that conversation, so thank you.
Kim. I do have the answer to the non-certified. While Ms. Schulte was speaking, it came to me. One of the positions at central office was not filled for quite a while, so that's why you're seeing that, the less amount used. We just filled that position recently in April.
Great, thank you. And then on page 8, the perfect attendance incentive. Do we have a projection as to where that's going to land? Said anybody, we're getting close.
I do not have an actual projection because I haven't run it yet. Based on the trend of the first 3 quarters, I would estimate that we're probably going to spend the same for quarter 4, around the same that we did last year, given that the attendance rates have been pretty consistent. So I would say we're going to be pretty close.
Excellent, thank you. And then 5250 on page 9, the tuition reimbursement. I know we've talked about this before. I was hoping that actually somebody took us up on the offer. It's a nice offer to, continue the growth of our employees.
We actually just calculated the tuition reimbursement, thanks to Ms. Lisa here, and that's done, and we are going to come in a little bit under. We do have people that have taken advantage of it, so that's always exciting, and me personally, I'm excited that more of our non-certified groups have actually taken advantage of it this year. But we are actually going to be slightly under from budget, but not substantially, but we will be under.
Great. Next on the same page, 5340, other professional services. We have the encumbrances left, but it looks like we're going to end up ahead there, which is probably a good thing.
Yes, so we're just closing out all of those, so we'll have a better number for you at the end of the month.
You already answered my resource officer. Attendance. The tuition ones are, I know they're always that's a challenge because they evolve as the year goes on, so I went by most of those. And I believe that was actually about it. You've answered most of the other ones. Anybody else have any questions that may have come up while I was talking? No? Well, thank you very much for that. We're looking for a motion to approve the monthly financials and send them to the full board.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll send that to the full board and move on to our new Discussion, next step B for facility use. Mr. Pergola?
Okay, so, let me hand this out. All right, what you see in front of you is from, I tried to get the whole year in to have a more accurate, you guys asked me about this, so I wanted to give you some information. Pretty close. These numbers aren't exactly where they should be, but I feel confident that it's close enough where you can get an idea of where our overtime goes. As you can see, the first one, custodians, no cost recovery, was at $51,811. Custodian cost, extra duty, which is snow or any other reason why they would stay other than, the other reasons that are on there, is at $82,000. The athletic program in our schools, the overtime is $45,000. We have about close to $7,000 in alarm calls. We have cost recovery. That means people paid us to come in and use our facilities to cover the cost of our custodians. And that's where it at. And total overtime cost is $204,124. There's a little bit of a projection here because we went to the calendar to get some of these numbers to the end of the month. Obviously, we're not. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yes, there is a little bit, especially, and it's not a lot, not enough to make a difference. But that'll change, obviously, for a full year when we get to the end of June.
Okay, anybody have questions for Mr. Pergola on the overtime breakdown?
Dean, I just have a quick question. What is the district custodian cost? Is that salaries or is that overtime associated with the district itself?
That's not salary. This is all the custodians, all the overtime they worked for the year.
It's Ms. Mann, it's the first four lines, it's the sum from the first four lines.
Thank you. So our cost to the district was on 185, 764, again, with the recovery. It's that. So, I wanted to give you that, and, I included this in the facilities, but not everybody on this has it, right? I don't think, because it wasn't included in there. So, I guess we can use this information to figure out what we're going to do in policy.
So just a couple quick questions. So where do our outside organizations land?
Custodian, no cost recovered.
Okay, so no cost recovered would be, so if you take no cost recovered and cost recovered, that's probably the total expense to the Torrington Public Schools for non-sports programs that are non-athletic programs. So that would be about $70,000 in custodial overtime. We billed out and received $18,000 in reimbursement, thereabouts, and we've incurred $52,000. So of that $52,000 that's left, is that, we have our partner organizations, PAL and the others.
So all the organizations that we had to pay out of our pocket, okay, is $51,811.
And that includes, that would be the Warriors,
That would
as
be-
it
yep,
stands right now, that's everybody.
That would be everybody, right. And the fees recovered are for organizations or events that happened that they actually paid for the custodians. And they paid a facility use fee. I didn't put that in here, but, you know, we probably got, the total was probably $4 or $5 grand for them actually paying for the facility's use. So the terminology too is something we want to clear up too, right? So facility use is the use of the facility. Custodian recovery cost, in my mind, is a good way to explain what the overtime is that costs us, because in the policy, some people are, you know, full boat pays for both, including utility fees. To certain categories, just pay for custodians. And that's where I want you to understand that. This is the numbers that we're dealing with, and I expect these numbers to go up. This is not a high point, especially with the facilities that we have now. More and more people, outside events, for-profit people, we're getting calls from, nonprofit, there's a lot of people that are going to be interested in the facility.
Which makes sense, and we've kind of back and forth a bit in the other committee about this, but if you look at that $52,000 no cost recovered, I know you're not prepared with math, but if you had to take a ballpark percentage of this, what ballpark of that 52,000 is our partner organizations, which wouldn't be subject to, in the current proposal, any changes at all anyways? Like, what's the dollar amount that when we go to policy to create a policy that we're actually chasing? You know, is it $30,000 hit to the budget? Is it $15,000?
So I think the question is, what partner program are we talking about? Partner with no fee?
Well, the partners with no, the ones at the very top of even currently, that don't pay anything, and looked in the new proposed document, wouldn't pay anything. What percentage of this 52,000 are we actually looking to charge people for? You know what I'm going to say? There's some organizations that are getting it for free in both versions of this document, the old one and the new one. How much money are we chasing by starting to charge the Torrington residents? You follow me?
I think I do.
So you could say PAL and whoever the other partner organization is.
All right,
What
so how much,
percentage of that?
so PAL and the other organizations are probably in the neighborhood of 18,000.
So if we use round numbers, 20,000 and 50,000, just for purposes of the conversation, there's about $30,000 in non-PAL and
Yes.
okay, I think that's no action for that here, but just important to know that when the next committee
Yeah,
comes
I
around to
did,
look at it.
and I did have it breaking down per organization. I put it all as one sum. I didn't
No,
want to.
I think it was just important so that when when the next committee speaks about it, they have some idea budgetary,
Yeah.
what part they're writing a policy for, right? If 40,000 of this was our partner organizations that's already being given it for free, and we're going to continue to give it for free in the proposal.
Yep.
We're making all these rules to collect $10,000 and inconvenience a lot of small organizations who are, core to the city of Torrington.
Okay.
That's all.
All right, so I guess the question is, what is the next step?
Since facilities approved in the last meeting, the schedule of values for your rental and the items you're asking to rent out and establish a price for, this committee just needed to know the cost impact, which you've outlined here. This really does fall to policy to decide who is what. I would make sure we present this cost that is, you look at that document you're proposing, I would try and break out what that cost is for those organizations.
For each individual organization?
No, you could do that, or just break it out. Here,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ones
yeah.
that we're proposing are going to get it
So
for
what I
free
can do,
anyways.
what I can do then is, under the new, I guess, under the proposed, I can put the dollar amount next to the proposed section that they belong to.
Yeah,
That
and
would
I would just do
clean
the
it up
big
without
ones.
any particular.
Yeah, just put the ones that are going to be partnered in your new proposal, they're not going to pay anything at all. That's worth $20,000.
Put a dollar amount next to it, I'll put the exact dollar amount next to it, of what they had used. And that's one thing that is kind of a constant, the ones that have used it, I don't see that changing very much, but I do see new, different organizations coming in. So again, that wouldn't be here to decide who's getting it and who's doing what, okay.
No, that you're presenting the impact, the potential impact of this, but the policy committee will decide who we're going to charge. The budget committee just needs to know what that impact of that decision would be, in my opinion. I just think it's important that prevent 5 hours of arguing at that next committee meeting, it would be helpful to know how much money they're discussing.
Got it.
Anybody else have any? Mr. Kisko? Could you say that again so that they can hear you?
Only to say that you are an optimist if you think we can avoid the arguing.
Thanks, Mr. Kisco. Anybody else? Mr. Kollegia on Zoom, anybody else at the end of the table have anything to add? All right, then we will move this one on to the next committee, on to policy. I guess we need a vote. Anybody motion to move this to policy?
Yes, so moved.
A second? I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll move this on to the policy committee. Lucky them. All right, next up is budget discussion, 26-27 budget discussion. Anybody who's seen the news, we did get the mill rate here in Torrington, and they went through all the city budgets last week, and the Torrington Board of Education was awarded $0 in operating and $0 in capital. So there is no additional funding coming from the city. Disappointing that we weren't given any of the $2.7 million that was specifically earmarked for education, but the cards have fallen for now. We'll see what happens. But that brings us to what will the Torrington Public Schools do with a $0 increase and a $4 million ask for the budget. We have said openly in our public meetings that we have our non-lapsing fund from last year, which is 1.55 million, I believe. And then we're hoping, and this is the part of this discussion, is that we really, in order to survive this, need to find every last possible penny to get into that non-lapsing fund for next year. I know that as we look at the budget, as the year comes to an end, maybe there's $1 million, maybe there's 1.8, it varies based on a lot of things, special ed costs and repairs and things that everybody's working on in projects. I will just say, and we're up for discussion, obviously, but I think we're going to need to make sure that even if we have to stop spending on certain things, we have to get that money into the non-lapsing fund for next year. And beyond that, we'll have to have a discussion about what to do. We've also told the city we have some Medicare money left over that we are going to exhaust in the next budget cycle. We will survive, obviously, but it will not be easy. There will need to be a discussion on what items to adjust. We had a cut list that we went through back in our long budget meetings a few months ago. We'll need to revisit those prior to the budget being finalized at our next Board of Ed meeting. But just wanted to open the floor to anybody who has anything to add to the budget discussions, anything along those lines. Anybody have anything they want to add? An update from the district even? Anybody have anything they want to add?
No, I mean, I think you summed it up, Mr. Putnam. I think that, a lot of the items that the Board of Education wanted to put back in at several of those meetings, I think obviously with the fact that we've gotten a 0 across the board, those items are obviously on the table again. We are working very hard at central office to come up with lists like that, and we are trying to minimize the impact that it has on our students, because we are seeing a tremendous amount of growth, and we'd like to continue to see that tremendous amount of growth, and that we know is because of the human capital. So your words are very pointed. We are going to continue to work very hard on doing that, and you are correct. We would have to meet with the board prior to in order to address that and to discuss any cuts that have to happen as a result of us receiving a 0.
Anyone else have anything they want to add? Mr. Berger?
Got a question for Mr. Wilson. Can you clarify, was this the third year in a row that it was 0-0?
That's correct.
I didn't quite hear you.
That is correct.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else have anything they want to add to the budget? Any comments? It's not, obviously it's not pretty. Even if we exhaust the Medicaid funds and we are able to carry the 1.5 or the 2% carry forward into non-lapsing, that's about $3.5 million. Shake the couch for every last penny here and there. We're going to have to make some decisions. No 0 from any municipality is going to allow a fully funded budget unless some things change over the next couple weeks, which obviously we can all be hopeful for. But that being said, we need to pick a time to have this discussion. Obviously, we need everybody to come back with their options, give a few more weeks for time to pass, but we do need to make these difficult decisions. We'll go through the list. Does anybody have any time, as close as we can to the board meetings so that we've got as much of the financial picture? Mrs. Labby, how reasonable is it for you to have a better idea where we're going to land on the non-lapsing as we get closer to the full board meeting?
We'll probably be pretty much 90% certain, maybe 95 on where we're landing by then.
So unless anybody else in the committee thinks otherwise, I think it would be the right move to not make these decisions tonight and to get close enough to know how much of a shortfall we're going to be in. Nobody wants to discuss cuts that don't come to fruition. That just panics everybody in the district. And this team's going to work as hard as they can to, make up all these shortcomings. That being said, what does everybody have on their schedule for a follow-up meeting? I hate to do that at this time of the year. Everybody's so busy with things, but this topic obviously can't be avoided. The board meeting is 2 weeks from today, 24th. We could opt to do, I don't think it's going to be a half-an-hour discussion, unfortunately. We could try and do it before that board meeting and meet a little bit earlier if it's the pleasure of this committee, or we could do a different day.
In charge of, the people who are in charge of the classroom monitoring software that we use for kids are coming in at 5 o'clock to speak.
I believe they're actually coming at the meeting, Mr. Kisco.
That's been changed.
I believe so, yes,
Okay.
yes. Time is available. That's a recent change, so yes.
Now, the question is, do we want to do a, and everybody knows me in 5 o'clock meetings, let alone 4:30. Do we want to try and do it before the Board of Ed meeting, have a hard stop and carry it into the Board of Ed meeting? Or do we want to do it on, the Tuesday night prior? Mr. Cronin?
I'm okay with doing it before the board meeting.
Me as well.
Oops, sorry, Patrick, I thought you were finished.
Is it Megan?
Jeff, if we're waiting until right before the board meeting, that's after school is finished. That means decisions haven't been made for staff at that point.
Understandable, but the hard part here is that until, the city has made the assumption that we're going to carry over 2% as a part of their budgeting process, and I would hate to make decisions that we had to unwind if we don't make that 2%. That's the difficult part, unless somebody thinks otherwise. I would want to be cautious in this. I don't think that based on what we know, we're not looking at a $4 million shortcoming. We're looking at a several $100,000 shortcoming, which is not a mass change to, staffing. It's probably little things here and there from the cut sheet we talked about. But I do understand that concern. Ms. Schulte?
I was just going to say, if there are any impacts to staff, though, we will miss contractual notifications. So that's the issue, that there are notifications that need to happen regarding timelines on involuntary transfers, layoffs, reductions in force, anything like that. So if any decisions of that would be necessary, if we wait till that time, we will miss those timelines.
What
Can you clarify that?
what are those timelines, Ms. Schulte?
Well, they have to have at least 14 days' notice if they're being laid off. So for a non-certified individual, they have to have at least 14 days' notice of a layoff. Or, yeah, 14 days.
That would be
So,
Sunday, Saturday or Sunday of this week. Ish. Well, it's Monday of next. I guess there's 30 days in June, right? So the 16th, which would be next Tuesday. Ms. Labby, do you think you're going to have a good enough idea by next Tuesday to?
Yes, we can work on that for sure.
Well, we could use the 17th. Yeah. Which would be, it's a night that most of it would be a Wednesday. I'm good.
If I may, to be able to actually communicate out that information, to do it the night of the 14th day, is that doable, would be my question to Schulte.
I mean, anything is doable. It'll be very difficult. Typically, our notices are already out by now. So we've been getting phone calls daily as to why our assignment notices aren't out, and, you know, so it's challenging. And I think everybody recognizes where we are and where the board is, and certainly understands the situation. But then on the other side, it gives the staff anxiety, uncertainty.
And nobody, certainly nobody in this room or nobody in the public wishes that we were in this situation. You be as respectful as we can of all those stakeholders. We could try and do Monday, we could do the Monday, possibly. But I don't know that we're in a good spot to roll through that tonight. I mean, we're going to have another meeting to do this. Yeah, I mean, how much time do you guys need to come back with your? We have the cut list we started with and some of those things, but I mean, this is not.
If it is the board's pleasure, we can be available Monday and have that done. I mean, obviously, Wednesday would give us a little more time to dot i's and cross t's, but if Monday was the date, we would continue to work on it and have it complete by then.
The notification piece at the dollar amount we're at is pretty small. It would be a small number of people, if any people at all. We haven't looked at the number of people who, we probably haven't gone down the road of all the retirees, and there are probably some avenues left that are going to have no staff impact, not backfilling people. Those are the kinds of things I know you guys are already diligently working on. So what's the pleasure of the committee? I'm okay with the Wednesday versus the Monday. If it's just a few people, we'd still make the notification if we did it. Superintendent, does that still work?
Either one works. You know, we can be definitely ready for Monday if this committee would like a Monday. I mean, Wednesday just gives us a little more time to polish everything up and to have everything buttoned up so that we could present it to the board in that fashion.
Mr. Kaleja, you had a comment?
No, I was just going to say, I depending on the time, I'll be flying back on Monday, so I likely won't be available. Not that this has to be scheduled around me. It was just throwing that out there.
All right. Looks like the group's availability is going to put us at Wednesday. We already have a meeting on Tuesday, so as unfortunate as it may be, we'll have to go with Wednesday. So let's make need a motion for a special meeting. We'll just make it, it'll be Wednesday the 17th, that is right? Wednesday the 17th at 5:30? Going to be here at Torrington Middle School.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, so that gives you guys until Wednesday the 17th to come back, and we'll all work together as diligently as we can to make this as painless as possible and hope for a small miracle in the meantime. All right, any other questions on the budget before we move to the next agenda item? Okay, then on to discussion on possible future program offerings to other districts in the district or other school districts. So I had asked, I made an, I know Dr. Baker was coming up to the, so we had put an agenda item on to ask, we've been talking about this for several years, what it would look like for the Torrington Public Schools to offer services to other districts. The idea being that we start some of the legwork. Obviously, Fast Academy has a lot of potential to be offered, but it's in its infancy. It's a brand new program, needs to get, all the kinks ironed out and become that staple program like some of our others that are so successful in the district, like the Voices program and things. But just to get started, we're hoping to find out what are the nuances, what are the challenges to getting something like this off the ground. Can we actually reasonably charge other districts a fee that covers our costs? Ultimately, with the cost of special education going up so much throughout the states and throughout the country, trying to find regional ways to handle these things, in our area, Litchfield County even, where we're not putting our students on buses for an hour if it can be avoided, and provide better, as good or better programming is important. We don't want to offer a program to somebody that does not do service to the student and the family. So I was hoping we could get some information on what those steps would be, what it would look like, can we charge people enough, and how would we do those types of things so the groundwork starts to get laid for future opportunities. So obviously we're not talking about changing something for September by any means, but the idea would be to understand what we can do.
So I can kick it off, and then Dr. Baker can take it and obviously elaborate or run with it. And I think it's a wonderful idea, and we've actually mentioned it at our budget presentation. You know, obviously, as you mentioned, Fast Academy is in its infancy, and we're not there yet. That takes 2 or 3 years of a successful program. The other programs that you're talking about, in my experience, while it's a great idea and we can do it, it has to be a very, very specific program. So in terms of meeting a need of a specific student's disability, having that program where we could meet the needs and then opening it up to all. So to your point about mentioning students on a bus for 45 minutes or an hour, those are the types of programs. Our current programs, while they're wonderful, and I think they're phenomenal, most districts, and I say most, 95% have their own program very, very similar. They would not be that apt to send students to us from that program. So I believe the programs you're talking about, and I'll defer to Dr. Baker to continue the conversation, is a very pointed, specific program for a specific need for a student, and then we could open it up and welcome students from other districts and charge. But I turn it over to you.
Thank you. And I absolutely concur. I feel like we're poised right now in a position where the way we're building the internal capacity in special education is the genesis that has to happen. First and foremost, I think the first thing we're going to have to do is make sure that the internal capacity and the human capital is trained well in terms of the students that we have. We have those 3 programs, the Voices program, which serves the autism students. We have the Thrive program, which serves the emotional disabilities. And we also have those life skills programs, which is more like intellectual disabilities, maybe some multiple disabilities or physical disabilities. Those 3 programs right now are actually thriving in that they're brimming at the seams. I will tell you at the last board meeting, and I'll be reporting again, we had talked about the numbers had increased. And I can't say, too much specific because I don't like to lead into student data. However, we're about up 50 students just due to students who moved in currently in the district with IEPs. Now, I say that, as yes, that's high transients, but I think one of the things that the supervisors and I, when we meet weekly and really dig deeply into the numbers, we're noticing high acuity cases. So students are coming in right now, or we're getting students with high acuity in terms of the autism or the emotional disturbance. So they're going straight into our programs. So I think it's really important that the first orientation of business as we talk about building the internal capacity. Right now, there are 2 grants. They're competitive grants through the special education department that just have come into fruition. If you remember, the previous grant that we did use was that SEED grant. We used that to grow the programs that are currently in the schools. One of the things we're looking at for this coming year is to look at professional learning to grow the current programs that we have with good professional learning, so that those programs are gold standard programs. Because when you go into PPTs, there are plenty of times when people will ask for out-of-district placement. Now, when you're talking the fiscal component, our out-of-district placements used to be considerably higher. We're down right now by almost 12 to 13 students. We anticipate that number continuing to drop for one great reason. If we build really good internal programming, students and most parents want students to remain close to home. They don't want those long drives. So it's mutually beneficial in that it's fiscally appropriate, in addition to it is exactly appropriately aligned to what those students' needs are at the time. So I feel like we're poising ourselves in a really good position that if the internal capacity is built, the next step in looking at where would be that potential benefit would be if any one of those programs begins to grow enough or begins to outsize that program or begins to look more acute in terms of human resources, we could then look at what would that classroom look like potentially within our own district. Like Mr. Wilson said, now with these competitive grants, everybody's doing the same thing. They're attempting to build their own internal capacity. So you may be less apt to see people wanting to use our programs. However, up here in the Northwest Hills, because we're all pretty small, it seems like there's a good potential to say, listen, if we specialized in autism versus ED, there is an absolute draw for that. Again, I say that being at least 1 maybe 2 years out in terms of stabilizing the current programming, but it's predictive analysis in that we do have the numbers to potentially see where we can grow. So I do feel confident that we could do that. We are going to attempt to put in for another grant to support special education because it is growing leaps and bounds in Torrington. And again, like I said, that's not just the children who have been ours, who have moved through the continuum of services and made it through PPT and really are in our programming. It's in addition to a multitude of students who are moving in with just current IEPs who hit the ground running day one within the district. So I thought it was just really important, and I'll reiterate it again when we do our regular board meeting, that we have done a lot of work, and I have to tell you, the teachers and the paraprofessionals in this district are bar none the greatest group of professionals I've ever worked with. And that's a long time. But I just am very confident that if we build that internal programming, and that's going very well over the next year, in that second year, we should be able to look at those numbers to say, what internally could we start another program at, in terms of using some space that we currently have. So I'm very excited about that prospect, but I'm more excited right now about building the capacity internally to making sure that we do have all that, while still, like I said, keeping the numbers down with the outplacement. We outplaced 12 less kids this year. Those numbers are going to go down again in September. We're not finding the need to have to outplace so much. So that's where you'll hit the most exorbitant costs for us in our department. But just to be able to weigh that in terms of, understanding fiscally, that it has to be appropriately set up, but there absolutely is the potential for it. We do have disability categories that are growing quicker than others. So those are some of the predictive numbers that I'm speaking about.
Thank you. So you're suggesting that, obviously, we're building our internal programs to meet the needs of the up-and-coming identifications, right? That
Yes.
we need to be able to support in-house rather than send them out. That's the best for the student. Where I'm sort of going with this is, there's always a staff ratio, right? So if we pick any of these programs, and let's say you start the year and we have 9 or 10 slots available. You're right, a Litchfield, a Naugatuck, people aren't going to send us. They have a big enough program that they can do it themselves, but the Colebrookes of the world, the Barkhamsteds that have much smaller programs, maybe it makes sense for them if we have a few seats to offer at a reasonable price. And other districts start to do the same. Maybe we have some programs that we send 1 or 2 children out for that we could send somewhere else. Ultimately, it sounds like a collaborative would occur, and it'd be a Northwest Hills collaborative, and different people would offer different things. So, here's where you should send this person. You want to keep them all in-house, but as you have shown and explained before, that's not always feasible, right? You want to make sure the child gets the best opportunity. So I hear you on building the programs, and that's great, the work you guys do. I would think that hopefully we can look at some of those programs that for those smaller towns, I'm not suggesting that we're going to outplace 54, we're going to bring in 55 students in a given year. It would be great, but to your point, that's a surge that the internal program's not built to handle right now. But if we are looking at those opportunities, I'd love to hear what everybody else has to say too, but that's great news, and hopefully we can build something that allows other towns to join us.
Yeah, and remembering we're building a good enough program, legally defensible, and that is optimal for people to want to move into. I do feel confident that at least in a year, we'll be able to see numbers that would make some sense. We are a part of a Northwest Hills collaborative. The other directors are amazing in terms of talking to. I know everybody's going for their own competitive grants, but it's nice once that shakes out, we'll be able to see where the area of need could be, possibly for other districts.
Do you see it as possible to offer these programs at a competitive price so that we're...
I'm glad that you say that, because we say a competitive price, but here's where it's tricky for us in the Northwest corner. Number one, transportation is, we know that that's an exorbitant cost to us. But say, we had a localing neighboring town, if someone is busing someone in, again, it's going to be a shorter distance. Still a transportation cost, but a shorter distance, to them in terms of what you charge them. In terms of tuition, I do think if there's many collaboratives to choose from, that is going to drive the prices down. But I'm not prepared to say at what type of a percentage. I think in the next year, once we see who does get these competitive grants and what programs are more available readily for us in the Northwest Hills, I think we can better determine that. I think for right now, our number one goal, like I said, is if we can build the internal capacity to handle what we currently have so that we're not outplacing and slow that hemorrhaging down, then I feel like that can assist us in creating those good programs, and then we'll see where we stand in a year.
Last quick one before I
Yeah.
open it up to the floor. Do we partner with other districts for the transportation? So let's just say that Litchfield's sending somebody to Windsor and Torrington's sending
Yes.
somebody to Windsor. Do we share that transportation and
Yes.
collaborate, or do we
Yes.
send two buses or two
The
cars?
girls in our office, Ashley and Chrissy, are just incredible. But yes, we're always looking for ways that we can share rides with other groups, or whether or not kids are already currently on that bus route. So it's looked at daily.
Fantastic. So to everybody else in the room, we've got a lot of experts here to talk about it. Anybody have anything to add to, or questions, or agree, disagree with the thought process? That's what the committee's for.
Definitely not an area of expertise of mine, but there's not much of that anyway. Our current student body, or current population in that school is X. What would our goal be in 3 years? Like, how much growth are we? I mean, I think it would be good to set a goal for us, like, hey, we have our internal students now, we have 50 students, you know, how do we, you know, market and get that out there to say, hey, we want to set a goal to get 50 Torrington kids and 25 out-of-town kids. Like, I mean, I think there's a.
I understand the rationale completely behind that. That makes sense to me. But what I think is, there are so many living, moving variables within special education, and the number of IEPs, the type of IEPs, the acuity of the different cases. To globalize numbers, I just feel like we would be selling ourselves short and may not meet them. If you talk about building an expectation, like a milestone, to say, hey, listen, in a year, we'd like to look at the population and then say, within this current population, could we expand a program based on the needs of our current population? That's more than doable. But saying, okay, I'd like to get 25 students, you know, in this program, again, it just, I wish it were that simplistic. It's truly, it's chasing a lot of different variables. And you know yourself that it's children. It's based on the way we write their IEP and their needs. So I think that is difficult. I think I would rather say, listen, let's set a goal to look at populations, growing populations, areas of need. That feels doable. I don't know if I'd put a hard number on, oh, I need this many kids in a program. Because remember, the whole goal of IDEA is to create accessibility to the actual regular education access. The goal is so that kids can be able to be in the regular ed setting as much as possible. There's no cure for any of the primary disabilities, the educational disabilities that we do, but where our goal is to give the compensatory skill sets so that they can access their education. So, you know, students who remain in special education for their career through to 22 are typically those high acuity cases, intellectually disabled students, our autism population. Those are populations where you'd have to build programming that's lifelong through to 22 years old. So I would set milestones along that nature. If you're talking about growing, you know, the FAST Academy under the regular education guise, you know, that's different. But when using an IEP, I would be very careful about, you know, goal setting around creating programs for kids.
Okay. I'm just looking at Fast Academy as like, you know, its own separate business, and it's, you know, say it's in the red right now, we need to get that business to the black. What's our goal to get there?
And
it's early and we're developing, but
Absolutely.
I think we should have or develop a 2, 3, 5-year plan.
And FAST Academy, you have to remember, it's an all-inclusive program. It is, you know, few special ed students currently, but we can accommodate special ed students there. But right now, the majority of that population is regular education. So I think, you know, that's part of our conversation that should happen, along with, you know, mental health and wellness and the majority of students who are currently being serviced for needs along those lines.
I just feel it's important because of our current budget situation that we need to plan and prepare so that we're more proactive than reactive when something happens. From a facilities perspective for Dean, HR perspective, you know, just got to have some contingency plans in place to be able to do that.
Agreed. No, the special ed department meets every Friday as an entire team. We're reviewing numbers, legalities, and frankly, whether or not our families are happy and our students are thriving.
Mr. Craig?
I think in general, this is something that I think we visited in like 2020, 2021 as well, for a brief moment. And you know, I think just knowing the Northwest Corner and knowing kind of the lack thereof of servicing for our higher needs students, you know, I think in general, this is at least worthy of something to explore. I am not as aware of the current budgetary kind of components to each layer of special education services. I was about 10 years ago. But in general, if you have a student that says it's $20,000 to educate a regular ed student, that if you go into special education, you essentially double that. If you go into a program, you double that. If you go into a outplacement sort of program, you double that. So that gets you from 20 to 40, 40 to 80, and then 80 to about 160. So 160 roughly per, and that's probably low end considering when I ran my school, it was about 150 at the time. And so that was a good 8 years ago now. So you're probably talking about 200 per student. You know, as a general ballpark guess in terms of numerical like target, and then that would hopefully alleviate the sending district's transportation costs, because if you're transporting to places like a Wheeler or IOL or some of the other APSEPs that are in that central Connecticut area, and if we can provide some sort of a safe haven that allows them to be in the local area of the Northwest Hills, I do think that that's something that's worthy of exploring further. And I do think we have the capacity internally with the right training and the right leadership as well to do that.
Agreed, and I think Jeff's point was, you know, well taken. I do think, though, the origin cause of ensuring that our current programming in district is healthy and our human capital is happy in working with us, we cannot lose sight of growing the human capital, because that in turn means we don't have to send families far away, and our families don't want to be far away from their children. That is where we're incurring the steepest cut right now in terms of our costs. And if that does, you know, continue to be that we can support our families within district, you're looking right there at a huge fiscal savings, and frankly, doing what's right for families by keeping their kids close to home. And then the next step, I agree, is talking about supporting towns and looking at ways that we could create, frankly, expertise. Yes, it's fiscally appropriate, but create an expertise in the Northwest Corner that can serve other families in our area. And I'm excited about the prospects of that, but I'm wise enough to understand that there is a lot of deep work to be done initially in building the human capital and making sure we're keeping our teachers and our paras happy so that they stay with us.
Anybody have any additional comments? My last, just to pile on with Mr. Craig, I do believe that the ship is sailing, right? We're doing a great job and we're servicing our students, but the bigger ship is also starting to sail, which is the Northwest Corner.
Exactly.
We either can become a point of expertise and a destination, or we can have our programs and continue to send them to the places that do build that expertise, whether it's Litchfield, Naugatuck, whoever it may be. Because obviously we want to keep them in-house, but sometimes it's not fiscally responsible to keep them in-house. I mean, there are some programs where sending it out for $150,000 actually is the right solution. So are there opportunities in the next year to partner with these discussions you're having to say, look, we're seeing a need for this. We can't build every program. That also, we don't have the space
100%.
for, we don't have the funding for. I would just like to see, and I mentioned these other well-established programs because they're, I don't want to say the word easy. They're the least challenging to integrate into an area. You have all these contacts. Can we ask them, hey, would you be open to, if we had 5 slots in some of our great programs?
Yep.
We're not disrupting the staffing ratios significantly. We're starting to establish ourselves with something they already know we do really well with and have a few students in while we build these other programs. And I'm not even saying that necessarily just for the dollars and cents, but to start to become that hub so that we are the place everybody turns to for that expertise.
Yep, agreed. I was on the phone with 2 RESCs this morning in terms of talking about like how to begin to build that grant so that we can build those internal programs to be places that, like you said, we could serve other students.
I know the challenge obviously is timing for everything, right? You start the launch of your barrage of IEPs in the spring. So it's obviously nothing's happening next year, but the idea would be that we've had these discussions and have a roadmap, come next spring to what are those opportunities look like? What can we do? What is totally off the table that, we're all crazy over? I guess that's kind of the ask.
No, I appreciate it. We're in the thick of writing grants right now as we speak, and that's helping us align, like you said, exactly where we think that pocket of expertise can be for us.
Great. Well, I look forward to hearing an update on that. Anybody else on the committee or otherwise have anything to add?
I don't have a question, I have a comment. I think we all need to acknowledge how lucky we are to have Michelle in the work that she's done this year. And I know you're recognizing that, but I just want to say the shifts that we've seen and how much she's appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anyone else? And I would echo those sentiments. It is great to have you, and thank you for all the hard work you are doing and will continue to do.
Yes, thank you.
If nothing else on this one, thank you for your time.
We'll
And
be
we will
back
go-
at it.
We'll go on to topics for future meetings. Topics for future meetings, obviously the standard financials. We'll have a closeout update. We'll have done our final budget by the time we have the next full budget committee meeting. Short of that, anybody have anything else they want to see on the agenda? Hearing none, comments for the good of the order. We'll start at the far side of the table with Marissa.
Great meeting, thank you.
Good meeting, thank you.
Good meeting.
Great meeting, thank you.
Good meeting, thank you.
Good meeting.
Nice job, Jeffrey. And thank you, Ms. Baker.
Thank you for allowing me to pitch it today.
That being said, thank you all for your time tonight. Really appreciate it, and we will get through these hard decisions. We'll always hope for the miracle, but we appreciate the time and effort, and looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned at 7:30 PM. Thank you all.